It feels wonderful to be back in the garden after another incredibly long and freezing winter here in Minnesota. This month, I am thrilled to show you several updates because I have had to completely rethink my gardening strategies after many things went poorly over the last 2 years. I have several new things to share, including an oopsies experiment that forced me to pivot and learn during the garden preparation phase. I was initially quite uncertain about how to handle the issue, but I believe it is going to end up being a blessing in disguise. It is starting to make me very excited, and I think I will continue using this method. I also have my secondary garden located in the back. For those who are new, I am a gardener in Zones 3 and 4 in Minnesota. We live a self-sufficient lifestyle where we aim to grow and produce the vast majority of the food we eat in a year. That can be a significant challenge because our growing season is very short. I just finished planting the garden. In fact, there are still a couple of things I haven't put in yet, which I will show you. We expect a freeze by mid-September, so it is a matter of going full speed ahead to pack away as much food as possible within the few months we have to work with. With that, let's begin the tour. First, let's start with a quick overview of the garden setup. My planting rows are approximately 3 feet wide with 1 foot wide walking paths. I think my planting rows are slowly becoming a bit narrower, which is fine. I felt the 1 foot paths were a little tight, so I am trying to be less greedy with space. I like to mulch the walking paths with wood chips. We have a wood chipper now, which is fantastic, and I feel they provide a great contrast. This is the fencing I have been using for at least 8 or 9 years. It is electric poultry netting, which keeps the chickens out. They are all over there, but mostly it keeps out the deer and rabbits. This works fantastically to keep them all out. I have never had an intruder as long as it is turned on. If I turn it off for a while and get lazy, they will jump over it, but as long as it is on, it is awesome. I will link it in the description if you are interested. Regarding overall dimensions, this garden is about 52 feet wide and 25 feet long, so it is roughly 1,300 square feet. I feel like I always start the tours on that end, so let's switch it up and start on this end, especially since one of my big experiments is down here. We will save the best for last. First up is my garlic. This is music garlic, my tried and true variety that I have grown since day one. All I had to do was buy 1 small packet of seed garlic, and I have kept multiplying it year after year. Now I have a ton. It is one of those things that is expensive to buy initially, but you only have to buy it once. I am waiting for the garlic scapes to emerge. Nothing has developed yet, which is good as it is still early May. But as soon as they come up, we will be harvesting and grilling them. I have a recipe for grilled garlic scapes, our favorite way to eat them, which I will link in the description. I am also growing a second garlic variety, and at the moment, the name is escaping me, so I will put it on the screen. This one looks slightly different. It is a bit shorter than the music garlic, and the color isn't quite as vibrant, but it is an Asian variety. We love cooking Asian cuisine, so I am excited to have this one available too. Next are my potatoes. I am doing things very differently for my potatoes in 2 ways because, over the last 2 years, I lost a lot of my harvest to bacterial soft rot. This is where the potatoes become mushy and rot in the ground, often caused by poor drainage and being wet for too long. We had a lot of rain recently, which didn't help, but I was also doing 2 things that added fuel to the fire. First, I was crowding them together. You can see I now have 1 row of potatoes in each of these 2 rows, whereas before I was combining 2 rows into 1. I don't think they had enough room to breathe. The biggest issue, however, was that I was mulching heavily with organic straw. Because I had 2 rows in one, I didn't have soil available to hill up around the plants, so I used heavy mulch instead, which kept the soil wet all the time. This year, I decided to move things around to free up an entire row so I could split them up. I will be hilling them very soon because they are getting tall. Some are about a foot high. Once they reach that height, I will take a hoe and hill up the soil to keep the tubers cool. I can do that now because there is available soil. Also, I have no mulch on them this year. I am growing russet potatoes and red chieftain potatoes. The russets were new to me last year and produced very well with less rot than the red chieftains. We are giving both another go, and I hope it goes better. It has been a very dry spring with no rain in 2 weeks, and temperatures have been in the 80s, so things are actually growing very well. The next row over contains my bush beans. These are a very important crop for us, as we freeze, can, and freeze dry a lot of them. They are delicious, even when preserved. These are just germinating now, so they have a way to go, but so far, the germination looks good. I will need to fill in a few spots that didn't come up, but overall, I am happy. At the end here, I seeded a few rows of carrots as a control group for an experiment I am doing elsewhere. The soil here is clay and rock, and it gets very hard, so carrots generally struggle in this area. Back to the green beans. Since we love them, I usually do 2 rounds. These produce for about 6 weeks. Then we pull them out. I typically plant the second row in mid-July after the garlic is harvested. If the weather is good, they finish just in time. Now we are getting to the fun sections that are filling in. These next 2 rows are largely my tomatoes. You will also notice companion flowers like marigolds, which are fantastic for repelling pests. I like the petite varieties because they don't take over too much space. Another favorite is calendula, which is just starting to bloom. It brings in pollinators and is a wonderful herbal medicine. I dry them and infuse them into tallow to make balm, which is very soothing for the skin. I have a video and a blog post with the recipe if you want to try it. You will also see chamomile here that's self-seeded. I just let it go and will harvest it for a while before pulling it out. I also started some indoors, and you can see how much smaller they are compared to the ones that self-seeded. Chamomile makes fantastic tea. I am also trying zinnia, though it looks a bit scrawny right now, and I might have a potato from last year coming up in its spot that I need to dig up. Finally, I have salvia, which was beautiful last year, but became a bit of a mess. This year, I am pruning it to get bushier growth. If this works, I will plant much more of it next year. Moving back to the tomatoes, I have 2 small pepper experiments. In Minnesota, cold is the enemy of peppers, which love heat. I have found they don't thrive as well in the ground as they do in raised beds where the soil temperature is higher. I have moved most of my peppers to raised beds by the cabin, but I left a few here as a control. Now for the tomatoes. I use cages for my Plum Regal tomatoes, which are a determinate variety. They have compact growth, meaning the cages handle them fine and the setup is easy. I don't have to do fancy trellising or constant training. They are also very blight-resistant, which has been an issue for me in the past. I have about 12 of these paste tomatoes, and I am companion planting them with basil. I am curious to see how they do because of my big oopsies this spring. During garden prep, I obtained compost from a raw milk farm about an hour and a half away. Our dump truck was broken, so we had to rent a trailer. When I saw the compost, I realized it wasn't entirely broken down. It was chunky and matted. I couldn't work it into the soil, so I had to decide whether to let it sit for a year or use it as mulch instead of my usual organic straw. I chose to mulch with it. The dark color should help raise the soil temperature faster, which is helpful in our climate. However, straw mulch usually helps prevent blight by stopping soil organisms from splashing onto the leaves during rain. I am curious if the compost will increase blight issues, but so far, things look good. I need to start trimming the lower branches so they don't touch the ground. I also have mountain sunrise tomatoes, which are orange and sweet, and mountain vineyard cherry tomatoes. These are indeterminate, so they will get large in the cages, and I will have to keep up with pruning. In the very back, on the north end, so they don't shade other things, are my cucumbers and peas. I use cattle panel fencing with T-posts. These are H19 pickling cucumbers, which I have grown for years. We love fridge pickles because they are easier than canning and store amazingly well. I will link that recipe too. The peas are doing great. I started them indoors this year and transplanted them, which worked much better than direct seeding. Finally, there is the celery. It was mediocre last year, possibly due to watering issues, but I have 6 plants this year that I will freeze dry for winter cooking. The compost mulch isn't as good a weed barrier as straw, but the weeds are very easy to pull out of the loose surface. We have made it to the brassicas, which northern gardeners do exceptionally well. I was worried because they usually like cool, rainy springs, but it has been hot and dry. So far, they are holding on. I have cauliflower and Romanesco. I grew Romanesco for the first time last year and loved it, so I increased to 4 plants. They can be finicky, but they look great. I don't have much damage from cabbage worms right now because I don't get much pressure from them in the spring. In the fall, however, the moths are a problem, so I have stopped planting fall brassicas and might try cover crops instead. I have about 20 broccoli plants, which is a big producer for us. We freeze a lot of it and just finished last year's supply. I have also scaled back on kale, moving down to 4 plants of the Arun F1 variety. It is very pest-resistant, and the leaves are tender and freeze well. In the back, I have Brussels sprouts in cages for support. One is small because I accidentally planted a cabbage there first and had to swap it out. I have 5 fat F1 cabbages that can grow to 20 pounds. I harvest them in the fall for sauerkraut and storage. I am also adding a smaller variety, Green Acres, for fresh eating and early sauerkraut. To finish the brassica area, I have zucchini. I am growing 2 plants vertically up stakes this year to save space. Nearby are the purple kohlrabi, which are almost ready. They are crowding the zucchini, so once they are harvested, the zucchini will have more room. Over here are my onions, which store very well. I grow Sedona F1 and use tight spacing, 6 inches by 4 inches, to maximize space. I am also trying red onions again after several years. The swallowtail butterflies are loving the fresh compost mulch I put around the corn. This corn is my big experiment. I started it indoors 2 weeks before planting to avoid germination issues caused by cold soil. I used deep trays for air pruning, and every single plant survived the transplant. The dark compost is keeping the soil warm and providing nutrients. This is all sweet corn. I also have butternut squash, though I reduced the number to 6 plants to make room for spaghetti squash and a large Cinderella pumpkin. Near the garden shed, I have some horseradish that keeps trying to die, which is strange because it is usually considered invasive. I am also trying a mini cantaloupe in a container since our season is short. The weather has been very sunny, and while I love summer, I wouldn't mind a rainy day to catch up on indoor chores. We definitely need some rain soon. Up by the cabin, I have my heritage rhubarb plant that is about 150 years old. It came from Sweden with my ancestors. It is doing amazing now that it has rich soil and compost. I also have raised beds from Epic Gardening. These are the Birdies beds, and I have a discount code in the description. I have salad greens, mustard greens, and green onions here. I might skip the mustard greens next year due to flea beetle damage. I also have poblanos, which are a staple for our winter chili. In an open spot, I will plant Beauregard sweet potato slips. My attempt last year with a different variety in grow bags was a total failure, so I am hoping this variety and the raised bed work better. All my carrots have moved to these raised beds to avoid the heavy clay soil in the main garden. They are a bit tight, but should do fine. I also have various peppers here, including red picnic peppers and aji rico, which is great for hot sauce. I have Carmen and cornito peppers, too, which grow better for me than bell peppers. My Scotch bonnet peppers are currently in pots to stay warm. I will move them into the garden once the radishes are harvested. In the edible landscaping area, I have worked in a lot of compost. I have heritage purple irises, blueberries, and more peppers. I am growing a lot of thyme this year because I ran out of my supply last winter. I also have lemon balm, oregano, and mint in pots. In the shaded spots, green onions, rosemary, and lettuce are doing well. I have a perennial called sorrel that has a strong lemon flavor, though it is already bolting. Finally, the berry patch includes strawberries, blueberries, josta berries, currants, raspberries, aronia berries, gooseberries, and honeyberries. Regarding the garden size, we aren't expanding because we are building our forever home further back on the property starting next spring. This setup is temporary, so I am being patient. Once we move, I will build a super garden and a poultry palace. I am so excited to be growing again, and look forward to the next update. If this journey through the garden changed the way you look at the potential of a short growing season, please subscribe and like the channel. We are cultivating the history that others have forgotten and planting the seeds for a self-sufficient future. The next chapter of our harvest will be opening soon.